A series of high-resolution Panasonic S1R II leaked images has just flooded the internet, all thanks to Andrea Pizzini. Do they shed any more secrets? Provide us with any more details? And along with those leaked images, we also got the full press release, removing any doubts about the power of the Panasonic S1R II, its price, or when it's going to be released. I'm going to answer all these questions and dig into the full press release, but first I have a simple and yet humble request. Please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, it helps this channel grow, and it keeps you informed on the latest camera gear. You might find this hard to believe, but getting a full press release leaked on the Panasonic S1R II ahead of the announcement, to me is a bit of a Debbie Downer. Why? Well, because there we have it in black and white, the specifications, the price, the date, ahead of the announcement. It takes away the mystery. And I love the mystery. I love not knowing 100% if what we're being told is true or not. But that being said, as I go ahead and cover the press release, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare this against what Andrea Pizzini had told us in the days leading up to, well, today. Was he accurate? How accurate was he? Or was Andrea Pizzini completely way off? Well, let's dig into the sensor to start off. The newly developed 44.3 megapixel backside illuminated CMOS sensor and a powerful L2 processor, which together enable a high level of detail and a wide dynamic range. Native ISO extends from 80 to 51,200 and can be extended to 40 and 102,400. Andrea Pizzini told us it was going to be a 44 megapixel sensor. He didn't mention CMOS, but that was pretty much a foregone conclusion along with full frame. But he also didn't mention whether it was going to be backside illuminated or stacked. So I wouldn't say that Andrea Pizzini was off here, but we're getting a few more details. So backside illuminated, which is good. Now the dynamic range here is 14 stops. I don't know what that means at this point, because what we get from a manufacturer's stated 14 stops can be very different from what we actually get. For example, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, stated by the manufacturer, is 16 plus stops of dynamic range. 16 plus stops, what that means is it could be 16.01 or 16.1, but nothing really huge where, well, if it was big enough, like 16.5, they would tell us that. So when it's actually measured, independent results have shown it to be around 13.5 stops, which that might seem like that's not that great, but actually it really is very good. It provides an awful lot more detail in the shadows, and that's exactly what we want. So 14 stops, it's nothing to shake a stick at, but how does that result to actual real-world results? Let's try that again. Real-world results. Well, that's what we're going to have to wait to see until at least Tuesday when we get the actual announcement. Right, let's now move on to the autofocus, because at this point I haven't heard anything about a new autofocus chip, such as we found in the Sony A7R V with that AI processing chip, or the Digic accelerator with a Canon EOS R5. No surprises that Panasonic says they have an improved autofocus system with fast continuous shooting. They've got that brand new phase detect autofocus system, that hybrid system that provides 779 focusing points that's AI supported. So you get subject recognition for people, animals, vehicles, and other subjects. And this might seem obvious to some, but that autofocus system is able to work at 40 frames per second. Now, in regards to the autofocus system, Andrea Pizzini really didn't tell us a whole lot, but I predicted based on the S5 II that it would have that new face detect autofocus system and that it would be better. But I did predict it was going to get a new AI processing chip. That it didn't. But when it comes to 40 frames per second, you might think, okay, great. But keep in mind here, this is an awful lot of data. 44.3 megapixels, 40 frames per second, and the autofocus system is working. If you recall, the Canon EOS R3, when it's shooting at that really high frame rate, what is it, 190 frames per second or something? I can't remember what it is. The autofocus system is not functioning. It's locked. As soon as you press down that shutter, it's locked. So whatever you got, that's it. 40 frames per second continuous shooting, and you got that pre-buffer shooting. Really good. So in terms of the pre-buffer shooting and the 40 frames per second, once again, Andrea, bang on. But the other details, well, again, we're getting more information here. So what you're beginning to see, if you're thinking this is going to be a boring read-through of the press release, It's not, because we're getting other nuggets of information. The S1R Mark II does have 5-axis image stabilization, which enables up to 8 stops. And in combination with a lens, well, then you can get up to a staggering 7 stops of stabilization with the telephoto range of lenses. And the Panasonic S1R Mark II does get that 177 megapixel pixel shift mode. And look at this, guys. Canon customers, mouths hanging wide open. It does both JPEG and RAW. So once again, Andrea was correct here, but the press release does provide us with a little bit more information. So while we get that 177 megapixel pixel shift mode, it delivers not just JPEG, but RAW files. And Canon customers, the Canon EOS R5 Mark I, the only camera to have pixel shift, only does JPEG and needs a tripod. So I'm waiting to see the results. A few viewers have reached out to me offering to share some images with me because I really want to see the results of this. This is really what matters here. Handheld? That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive if it works. Because up to now, very few cameras can deliver pixel shift that isn't just a gimmick. They can't take into account moving subjects, and they pretty well all require a tripod. At least until now, according to Panasonic. For the first time, Lumix cameras now offer 8K video recording at up to 30 frames per second. The S1R Mark II also supports OpenGate, which utilizes the entire sensor at 3:2 format, providing 6.4K video. The press release also confirms that we have multiple aspect ratios, but Panasonic does say that a firmware update is coming in 2025. They don't say when we can enable OpenGate recordings for 8.1K and 7.2K. Now, Apple ProRes RAW HQ can be recorded internally at 5.8K at up to 30 frames per second on CF Express Type B cards. On CF Express B cards or an SSD that's connected through USB. And RAW videos can be outputted to external recorders in 8K via HDMI. So there's an awful lot to unpack here. So OpenGate, yes, we're going to get it. Now it does require a firmware update to fully open it up to, what was it, 8.1K and 7.2K. Once again, Andrea Pizzini seems to have his ear to the ground here. Everything he's told us has been correct or partially correct. When I say partially correct, for example, the sensor, saying it's a 44 megapixel sensor, well, it left out backside illuminated and CMOS. And arguably, that doesn't make it wrong. It just doesn't provide us with the full picture. But everything he's told us this time around so far has proven to be correct. Now, he did mention that it was going to have CF Express Type B card slots. I'm happy. I kind of assumed that it would. At this point in the press release, we don't know if it's going to be dual CF Express Type B, whether it's Gen 3, Gen 4, or V4. So you're going to see in different products, you're going to see V4 or Gen 4. They both stand for the same thing, which is the next generation of CF Express 4.0. Some are calling it V4, some are calling it Gen 4. For you and I, generally, we call it Gen 4. So we'll just have to wait a little longer to see if it actually is dual card slots Type B, and if it supports V4/Gen 4. Once again, Andrea, you've done a great job of being accurate here. And for your detractors who say you're never correct, those people just don't watch your channel or pay attention to your posts. So if you're a subscriber of this channel, also please reach out to Andrea, subscribe to his YouTube channel, because when it comes to Sony and apparently Panasonic, Andrea has his ear to the ground and has some little birds whispering in his ear. But without further ado, let's move it along. The S1R Mark II is composed of a magnesium alloy. It's water resistant, it's weather resistant, and it can actually work all the way down to -10 degrees Celsius. And you guys are going to love this. When the camera's switched off, the mechanical shutter can be closed to automatically protect the sensor from picking up dust and other debris. The Panasonic S1R Mark II has a 5.76 megapixel OLED viewfinder. In terms of storage, we do have dual card slots, but unfortunately, only one of them is a CF Express Type B card slot. Oh, I was really hoping that it was going to be dual card slot CF Express Type B. But you see, whether it's a Canon, whether it's a Nikon, whether it's Panasonic, at this price point, we're only getting a single CF Express Type B card slot. I was really hoping to see this because what we're getting in the S1R Mark II, make no mistake about it, is a camera that directly competes against the Canon EOS R5, the R5 Mark II, the Nikon Z8. We have another camera in that category, and if it had to come out with dual CF Express B type, let me try that again, dual CF Express Type B card slots, well, that would have been great for everybody else, because then when they get refreshed, the R5 and the Z8, there's a greater likelihood that we could have dual card slots. Yeah, that's not looking so good right now, but yeah, take a look at it, you know. And another thing I really like too is you see an operating temperature down to minus 10 degrees Celsius, which I think is around 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that for a moment. A lot of cameras can go up to 40 degrees Celsius or around 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And you and I at that temperature, we start to have problems. Now they can go a little bit higher than that, but we can start to have problems. But it's shooting in sub-zero temperatures because the material science differs. It can cause problems. So that this camera supported down to minus 10, that's a really big deal. But speaking of pricing, take a guess at what the price of this is going to be. I don't think you're going to be too surprised. The recommended retail price of the Panasonic S1R Mark II is $35.99, and that's euros. That's body alone, $44.99 with the kit, 24-105 f4 macro OIS standard zoom. Okay, $35.99. So what does that mean in US dollars? Well, I don't know now, but I'll probably know once the weekend's over. I would assume that that probably means a US price of somewhere between, I mean, on the really, really low side, it would be $29.99. But probably going up to a price of around $32, $33.99. Don't just take out your calculator and look at the exchange rate, because what we see in Europe is sometimes you see the prices quoted with the tax already embedded. And in Europe, the tax can be anywhere from around 17% up to 25% in Denmark. So depending on where we're getting the information from, there's a huge price baked into there. We also have taxes and tariffs. So you can't do a linear translation. The best thing, if you want to do some homework, go take a look at some prices on the internet for other products that are out right now, such as the Canon EOS R1, or the R5 Mark II is probably a better one, the R5 Mark I or the Z8. Look at the price in euros without sale, then look at the price in the United States without sale. And that's going to give you an idea of where you can take this $35.99 euro price for the S1R Mark II and figure out what it's going to be in dollars. But I should have you that information probably sometime Monday. So what do you think? This is looking to be pretty good. As I put out in my video earlier today, I've been comparing the S1R Mark II to the Canon EOS R5 and the Nikon Z8. And I stand by that. This is obviously a big deal. I wish they hadn't chosen the name the S1R Mark II, because by choosing the S1R Mark II, we think of this as being a photocentric camera. There's no S1 Mark II, at least not yet. And that has me thinking a little bit. When the predecessors were announced, the S1 and the S1R, back in September, all the way back in September of 2018, well, we had two cameras announced at the same time. The S1H came about 4 to 6 months later. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was 4 to 6 months later. This camera here, it's to some degree, so when it comes to the R5, it's offering a whole lot more in terms of video capabilities than the R5. Now the R5 Mark II, well, it can go up to 60 frames per second raw. It can do other capabilities, but then the open gate and some of the other capabilities with the S1R Mark II is better than the R5 Mark II. So it's even though we've got two R5s out there, it's doing battle with them both well, and same with the Nikon Z8. So, you know, as long as the autofocus system is enhanced and improved, as Panasonic is saying, it's up there with Sony and Canon, well, then we've got another camera in that price point that is very, very exciting. Monday, I should have some more information for you, leaked pricing in US dollars, some other information to just kind of put the bow on things. But what I'm going to be doing is doing a live stream on Tuesday morning. So the announcement is taking place. Again, it's confirmed that it's February the 25th, but the time has changed a little bit. Andrea Pizzini in one of his previous posts said it was between 1 and 2 p.m. London time. He's now confirming that it's 2 p.m. and that would make it at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have a Sigma announcement at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I'm not sure when to start my live stream. Should I start it at 7:30 in the morning and cover the Sigma announcement as well? Let me know in the comment section down below. Or should I just start it at 8? And what I'm going to do is have my live expert panel where we're going to come together. We're going to talk about the latest leak specifications, talk about who this camera is for, what does this do to the Canon marketplace that's always loved the R5 and the R5 Mark II, how does this change the outlook for Nikon customers, and for Sony that doesn't have a camera in this segment. That's what we're going to talk about. And then as the embargo's lifted, we're going to talk about how close, well, we've already got the leaked press release, so everything's probably going to be bang on. And once the embargo's listed, we're going to let you know, because as soon as the embargo's lifted, you're going to be able to go ahead and pre-order the Panasonic S1R Mark II. And that's why we have the smart pre-order links that has been here since the beginning of the video in the description down below. These guys right here. Because based on these leaked specifications, after a 6.5 year long wait, that's right, 6.5 years for a refresh of the S1R and the S1, there's going to be an awful lot of pent-up demand. And if you don't get into that first pre-order on day one, what I suspect is going to happen, you could wait weeks or even months. I keep using the example of this lens here, the Canon RF 200 to 800 millimeter. It was announced on November the 2nd, and I was told by some people they waited 8 to 10 months, and they pre-ordered on that same day. So if you use my pre-order links, what it will do, go ahead and copy them down, put them in your browser, and it's going to save you anywhere from 5 to 35 seconds through the ordering process, and that's just going to get you further up in the queue so you can get your camera just a little bit quicker. But it does do me a favor too, guys. This channel is viewer supported, so by using these affiliate links, I get anywhere from 2 to 5% back, which really does help support this channel. It's very much appreciated. And a big thanks to all of you that have used my affiliate links in the past. But without further ado, I'm going to just end this video because I want to get upstairs and edit this and get it out to you, hopefully before 10 o'clock. You already saw the leaked images in the intro. And I got to say, a big thanks to Andrea Pizzini for his coverage, providing us with all the details and being bang on. It was a pleasure, Andrea. And if you aren't too busy on Tuesday morning, join us for the live stream, even if you just come in for 5 or 10 minutes. Anyhow, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon. Most likely, very soon.